For the past couple of weeks, I've been grieving in a way I've never grieved before. I'm grieving the loss of my work best friend. It's important to note he didn't die. He just got another job. You see, back in February 2022, I was 23 years old, interning for the team that I work for full-time right now. And I was also the month when that team hired someone on full-time that was just a few years older than me. So when I began to work for that team full-time, 2 months later, in April 2022, we became the only people in their 20s on that team. And very quickly, me and this gentleman became work best friends. What a beautiful union we had. Well, nope, can't use that word when you're talking about work. But what a wonderful bond we had formed, right? And we were work best friends for the past 3 years. Well, a few weeks ago, I found out that he got another job. He left our team. He left the company. And you know how people say that thing where it's like you never know what you truly have until it's gone? Well, no, I did know. I knew how great it was to have a work best friend. Now, even if you know that, nothing can prepare you for the actual thing, right? The actual loss. No amount of prep can emotionally lube you up enough to make it not hurt. And hurt it does, because a work best friend is so special. What's special about a work best friend? If you have one, you know what I'm talking about. I think the best part, the most obvious part you can point out is that they're going through the same exact stuff you're going through 40 hours a week. Probably they're interacting with the same people you are. So when crazy stuff happens with like those other people, you guys can talk about it and like know everyone involved. You know, when you tell your friends a story about like something that happened at work, there's only so much of a way that they can get it. You know what I'm saying? Like you could be the best storyteller, you leave out no details, and still I feel like the other person, they won't truly get the impact the way a work best friend could. Like, you know, when you're telling your work best friend a story about, you know, something that happened with another person at work, if they know that person, they can very easily hear that interaction in their voice because they know those people. They have had interactions with those people. And so it makes your stories hit that much harder. Your work best friends understand the corporate you at a level that no one else can. And the other beautiful thing about a work best friend is they don't know anything about you. Well, what do you mean, Gauruv? You just said that they can relate so much with you. Yes, but they don't know anything about you personally, and that's beautiful. I remember when we were about like a year into working together, me and my work best friend and another work friend of ours were eating lunch together. And I sat there, I took a second, paused, looked around and was like, guys, isn't it weird that we just do this? And then at 5 p.m. when we go home, we have no idea what each other does. And then my work best friend was like, yeah, Gauruv, let's keep it that way. We have a good thing going. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, what am I doing? Why am I trying to merge these two worlds? Now, this work best friend and I went on to have such a great relationship that we would do stuff outside of work, like go to Kings games and, you know, get dinner sometimes, get ice cream. But really, yeah, I don't think I could tell you a single thing he does outside of work. Oh, Gauruv, you're a bad friend. You should know just from all those other hangouts, something they do. I mean, yeah, there's the basic stuff, right? Like video games, sports, traveling, things like that. But we kept it very professional. You know, we kept it very work. We only talk about work. And that's because that's where we did our best work in our relationship. Sometimes I would often talk with him and I would wonder, if we didn't work together, like, would we still be friends? And over time, I did find that, oh yeah, there's enough other stuff in common that we would be friends. Like, it's not just the stories we tell about work and, you know, the same things that you work with on a day-to-day basis that you hate that you can bond over, right? We're not just like trauma bonding. But the thing that bonded us together, the thing that brought us together in the first place was, yeah, work. And also being about the same age, you know, he's about 2 or 3 years older than me. It allowed us to relate to things just in the world the same. Like when you start working full time, a lot of the people you work with have kids. I've worked with people who have kids that are my age. So you can still like relate with those people, right? But it's at a different level. It's more like you're relating to them from their child's perspective. Like you can say stuff like, oh, I bet your son is going through this, right? And they're like, yes, oh my God, that's such a thing at the forefront of our mind right now. And you're like, yeah, I know that because I'm going through it right now too. But they can only relate from a parent perspective, right? This person relates from, you know, this generation perspective. And that's a connection, yeah, until it's gone. You don't realize how amazing it is. And like I said, yeah, they can relate with other things that happen at work, right? The storytelling aspect. You can describe stuff to your real life friends, we'll call them, and they might be like, all right, Gauruv, you're probably embellishing that didn't happen. But your work best friend can attest to it, right? They can be like, no, I feel like you're underplaying this thing. That was crazy. And you're like, okay, right? Because I thought, I don't know, maybe that's normal in the corporate world, but they're like, no, that was crazy. Because they know like the work dynamic, the culture, all the characters involved. You don't have to explain that part to them. They have that. With those known pieces, then you can use those to tell your stories. Like, do you remember that episode of The Office where Jim is having a house party and he doesn't invite Michael? Well, one of the things he says is that I really want everyone to show up, especially Dwight, because I'm pretty sure my roommate is convinced that he's not a real person. That's how it feels sometimes, right? When you tell your real life friends and family about work stuff, they're like, is that real? And you're like, yes, I swear it's real. You have to believe me. But that part, right? You don't have to do that with your work best friend. They get it to the same, if not more intense degree. And so the loss is felt. I no longer have this gentleman, shining bright green on my Microsoft Teams. His presence is unknown. And so I feel lost. I feel like I lost my work best friend. And I realized, well, I'm probably not alone, right? There's probably other people that either don't have a work best friend or they've lost their work best friend. So I realized I can be a resource here. I can be your work best friend. I can listen to your work stories. I can give you advice. I can tell you whether or not you were in the wrong, but you're never going to be in the wrong because we're work best friends. I'm always going to have your back. So here's my idea, okay? Hear me out. I'm going to start a series on this channel where you submit your work stories and then you can, let me know. Do you need something out of it? Advice, maybe decide who's in the wrong, who's in the right. Even if you don't need anything, I'll just hear you out. I'll listen to your work stories so that you don't feel like you're alone. So if you want to be a part of this, make sure you email this email right here. I just created it today. It works, I swear. Email gauruvvirk@gmail.com with your stories of something that happened in your work life, right? Doesn't mean you have to work for a corporation, be an engineer. I know I do a lot of engineering content on here. If you work and you have a work story, email this email with the story and we will go through it on here. And then we will create this community of work best friends. And I think it's perfect, right? We're not going to really know anything about each other's personal lives, but we'll only know what happens at work with each other. I think that's an optimal relationship. So let's not make my work best friend's loss be in vain. Again, he's still alive, just at a different company. But let's make a rainbow out of a cloudy day, right? Let's make something good come of this. Let's become work best friends. And don't think of this as a rebound. Okay, that's not what I'm doing here. Oh yeah, Gaurav, you just got out of a relationship, now you're looking for another one? No, I swear, this isn't what this is. This is actually really good for you because I'm not going to tell you my stories, you're just going to tell me your stories. So I'm just going to be listening. And that's every great relationship, right? Where one person doesn't get to do any of the talking, they just listen, and then the other person does all the talking. But then at the end of the conversation, that person's like, man, this was really good. We should do this again. And I'm like, yeah. Free therapy. But that's kind of what I'm offering you, right? Free corporate therapy or whatever you work for. It doesn't have to be a corporation. So yeah, make sure you email this email with any work stories you have for me, any advice you want, any situations, if you want to know you're in the right or the wrong, let me know. I look forward to seeing you at work, but only work, okay? We're not seeing each other outside of that. God, no. Yeah, I'm not going to know if you have any pets, but I'm going to know how much you hate that coworker of yours. So stay tuned for the first episode of this. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one.